Because I think a lot of it is very unfair. I mean, I look at some of them where they go back 12 years. Like Manafort has nothing to do with our campaign, but I tell you, I feel a little badly about it. They went back 12 years to get things that he did 12 years ago. I feel badly for some people because they've gone back 12 years to find things about somebody, and I don't think it's right. In response to a question about whether he was considering a pardon for Manafort or other individuals involved in this special counsel's investigation, the president said, "Don't want to talk about that. No, I don't want to talk about that. But look, I do want to see people treated fairly. That's what it's all about." Hours later, Manafort's bail was revoked and the president tweeted, "Wow, what a tough sentence for Paul Manafort, who has represented Ronald Reagan, Bob Dole, and many other top political people and campaigns. Didn't know Manafort was the head of the mob. What about Comey and crooked Hillary and all the others? Very unfair." Immediately following the revocation of Manafort's bail, the president's personal lawyer, Rudolph Giuliani, gave a series of interviews in which he raised the possibility of a pardon for Manafort. Giuliani told the New York Daily News that when the whole thing is over, things might get cleaned up with some presidential pardons. Giuliani also said in an interview that although the president should not pardon anyone while the special counsel's investigation was ongoing, when the investigation is concluded, he's kind of on his own, right? In a CNN interview 2 days later, Giuliani said, "Guess I should clarify this once for all. The president has issued no pardons in this investigation. The president is not going to issue pardons in this investigation. When it's over, he is the president of the United States. He retains his pardon power. Nobody is taking that away from him." Giuliani rejected the suggestion that his and the president's comments could signal to defendants that they should not cooperate in a criminal prosecution because a pardon might follow, saying the comments were certainly not intended that way. Giuliani said the comments only acknowledged that an individual involved in the investigation would not be excluded from a pardon. In fact, the president and his advisors come to the conclusion that you have been treated unfairly. Giuliani observed that pardons were not unusual in political investigations, but said, "That doesn't mean they're going to happen here. Doesn't mean that anybody should rely on it. Big signal is nobody has been pardoned yet." On July 31st, 2018, Manafort's criminal trial began in the Eastern District of Virginia, generating substantial news coverage. The next day, the president tweeted, "This is a terrible situation and Attorney General Jeff Sessions should stop this rigid witch hunt right now, before it continues to stain our country any further. Bob Mueller is totally convicted and his 17 angry Democrats that are doing his dirty work are a disgrace." 2 minutes later, the president tweeted, "Paul Manafort worked for Ronald Reagan, Bob Dole, and many other highly prominent and respected political leaders. He worked for me for a very short time. Why didn't government tell me that he was under investigation? These old charges have nothing to do with collusion. Hoax." Later in the day, the president tweeted, "Looking back on history, who was treated worse? Alphonse Capone, legendary mob boss, killer, and public enemy #1, or Paul Manafort, political operative, Reagan Dole darling, now serving solitary confinement, although convicted of nothing? Where is the Russian collusion?" The president's tweets about the Manafort trial were widely covered by the press. When asked about the president's tweets, Sanders told the press, "Certainly the president's been clear. He thinks Paul Manafort's been treated unfairly." On August 16, 2018, the Manafort case was submitted to the jury and deliberations began. At that time, Giuliani had recently suggested to reporters that the special counsel investigation needed to be done in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And media stories reported that the Manafort acquittal would add to criticism that the special counsel investigation was not worth the time and expense, whereas a conviction could show that ending the investigation would be premature. On August 17, 2018, as jury deliberation continued, the president commented on the trial from the south lawn of the White House. In an impromptu exchange with reporters that lasted approximately 5 minutes, the president twice called the special counsel's investigation a rigid witch hunt. When asked whether he would pardon Manafort if he was convicted, the president said, "Don't talk about that now, don't talk about that now." The president then added, without being asked a further question, "Think the whole Manafort trial is very sad when you look at that, what's going on there. I think it's a very sad day for our country. He worked for me for a very short period of time, but you know what? He happens to be a very good person, and I think it's very sad what they have done to Paul Manafort." The president did not take any further questions. In response to the president's statement, Manafort's attorney said, "Mr. Manafort really appreciates the support of President Trump." On August 21, 2018, the jury found Manafort guilty on 8 felony counts. Also on August 21st, Michael Cohen pleaded guilty to 8 offenses, including a campaign violation that he said had occurred in coordination with and at the direction of a candidate for federal office. The president reacted to Manafort's conviction that day by telling reporters, "Paul Manafort's a good man, and it's a very sad thing that happened." The president described the special counsel's investigation as a witch hunt that ends in disgrace. The next day, the president tweeted, "Feel very badly for Paul Manafort and his wonderful family. Justice took a 12-year-old tax case, among other things, applied tremendous pressure on him, and unlike Michael Cohen, he refused to make up stories in order to get a deal. Such respect for a brave man." In a Fox News interview on August 22, 2018, the president said, "Cohen makes a better deal when he uses me like everybody else. And one of the reasons I respect Paul Manafort so much is he went through their trial. You know, they make up stories. People make up stories. This